Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast, helping you achieve financial independence through real estate investing, one episode at a time. We talk about personal finance, mindset, and real estate investing. Whether you're a rookie or looking to scale your portfolio, we're here to provide you with the tactics and actionable steps to achieve your goals. Here are your hosts, Diego Corzo and Ward Mahoney.
What is up, Ward? How are you doing? Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast.
What is up, Diego? Stoked to be here again, man. We have a really exciting guest. We're going to go really deep on investment theses,
investing thesis.
And really excited to kind of jump into a good conversation here.
Yes. Today we have Pascal, who's my best friend, and he's going to be talking about investing for cash flow, his investing thesis, stories of the background of me in high school and helping me move to Austin, because Pascal has been there every step of the way helping me out. And so we have here Pascal. How are you, brother?
What's up, guys? Great to be here.
Yes, dude. I think this is the first podcast that we've actually done. I think we may have done one or two recordings, but officially this is the first one together, right?
Yeah, I can't believe it's taken us this long.
I know, dude. All right, well, dude, let's, I want to take this there's a lot that we can share on this, but a lot of the things of how you think, has been really good in this past couple of years, seeing your growth, and now with you being able to build a fund that invests in other funds that will then allow other people to invest for cash flow, right? And I want to talk a little bit about your thesis, like your investing thesis, how you created it. But if you can, for the audience here, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to take it back.
All right. Hey, guys. My name is Pascal Wagner. I am currently the CEO of Grow Your Cash Flow, where we help people earn consistent monthly passive income from private placements, which has a whole mission behind it after my dad passed away, which I'm sure we'll get into. And I had a career in venture capital. I was a fund manager for a $150 million follow-on fund at Techstars, which is an early stage venture fund. And before that, I had a venture-backed startup. We raised, $2 million, got to $1 million in revenue, had 55 employees, and eventually realized it wasn't a venture-backable business and sold it. But I mean, the story could go on, but I think those are the most recent, relatable, relevant things.
Yes. And it's been incredible to see your journey, and also, as you mentioned, right, the things that happened, what has happened after your dad passed away a couple of years ago, to the now. And I just have to say a huge shout out to you and to your family too, because I share a lot about me investing in real estate and everything. And it was your dad who gave my dad and I the loan, $10,000 to buy my first rental property in Florida, where at that point, I couldn't get qualifications for anything, for a loan for a bank to give me money so that I could buy a property. And your dad was able to help us out. So always grateful for that.
And I'll also mention that Diego has always been a hustler and someone that's been trustworthy, and that always went above and beyond. And so I think when you exhibit those qualities, it doesn't matter if you can't qualify for a loan from the bank. It's if you have enough hustle like Diego has had, if the door is locked, go through the window. I hear from Diego a lot. And that's why. So I just wanted to make sure that, it's not just you getting a handout. It's we've known each other and you've hustled and you've had this reputation, and that's why these opportunities come to you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's totally true. It's you have to earn that trust. You have to earn that trust.
Absolutely.
And so that's a bit of your journey of where you are now. But I want to take it back to high school, because I remember freshman year, everybody was talking about this guy Pascal, but we didn't have any classes together. But I met you in high school, and we didn't become friends until actually sophomore year. when we were playing soccer with the TSA. And can you take us a little bit back about like high school, and then we'll get into college and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I think the story starts out as, you know, I really met Diego. Diego was like the hustler smart student. And like quiet, but like really got his stuff done and just focused. And or at least that's what it looked like to me on the outside, right? And we had this, I don't know, when we met, it somehow just clicked. We would stay after school and play soccer together, and then somehow this wound up into you were on my way home. I had a 45-minute drive home. I had like no friends out in the middle of nowhere, and we enjoy doing a lot of the same things. You mentioned TSA, which is Technology Student Association. We both started nerding out on that. We started to build robots and work on architectural projects and all the different things you do there. And then, we started doing little entrepreneurial ventures together. I don't really remember how it came to be. Maybe you do, but I would start to spend my nights over at Diego's house with his family because we would just both stay up late and we'd study together and have a lot of the same classes, and we both participated in the same kind of after school activities. And it's from that we started buying candy at Costco. And like I remember both of us walking up and down the Costco aisles trying to figure out what candy can we sell. And then we took a loan out from my mom. It was like a $300 loan. And we then went in between classes and in gym class and started offering, like, think of like a Starburst or a pack of Skittles. And, we bought them for 30 cents and then we'd sell them for $1. And that's how we both afforded our own MacBooks. So it was
those things of entrepreneurial part that basically got us like that hustle, right? That of course we weren't handed stuff. It was we had to earn it, and we had to get that creativity. And I feel like that creativity is what helped us then to be able to start that journey, because after high school we went to Florida State University. We studied the same thing as well. But while we were there, also, I couldn't, because I couldn't qualify, right? I couldn't get a driver's license. You were my ride, like freaking everywhere. And
even from Florida to Colorado and Texas.
Yes, exactly. So you went to Florida State University after high school, right? And share a little bit about like maybe one or two stories that I guess put you in the right direction of what you're doing now, from things that you got from college.
Yeah, I think the thing that you hit on earlier was that we were both hustling and trying things. If I had a list of, I have a list of all the businesses that I've tried. And I've had over 38 different businesses, of which 6 were profitable and like crushed it. Like I sold Ultra Music Festival tickets, and then I did Facebook advertising, and then, I built this photography business, and then, but back then, we were both doing anything entrepreneurial that we could get our hands on. We were going to startup weekends. We were both doing Wordio together. It was the startup that, came out of that, that ended up not going anywhere. But, I took on the path of like trying to raise money and getting my feet wet there. And it's really like all of these, pieces were things that were new to me. I have the story of, one of the things I tried to do, I thought to myself, okay, I could either, it was getting close to, it was junior year in college. And I was thinking, okay, I could either go to an Ivy League and I could go spend $200,000 and go into debt and then kind of have these golden handcuffs because I need to go get a job somewhere and pay that off. Or I could try and go start my own business and like learn through hard knocks, and like, worst case scenario, I take the next 4 years and I spend $200,000. and I'm in the same position as I would be if I went to an Ivy League school. And so to me, it was like, well, if one gives me the chance to build the business of my dreams, then like I should invest in myself and go for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and so I convinced my parents. I got a full ride to Florida State University, and I convinced my parents, hey, all the money that you saved up for college, $30,000-$40,000, can you gift that to me, so that I can go start, like, I'm going to spend the next 2 years living as meagerly as possible and like starting my own business. And like after some convincing, like it's like they were entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur, and they just wanted to, see me go after my dreams and pursue that. And so I had that incredible opportunity. And so that's kind of like what started me on down that path.
Yeah, and that was graduating college in 2012.
Yeah.
And while that was going on, I remember that you were going to move to Boulder, Colorado.
Right.
And that was at the same time that I was graduating and I had just gotten the job um, at GM, and they gave me the choice to go to General Motors. Uh, I'm sorry, to move to Austin, Texas.
Right.
So, because at that point I didn't have my driver's license yet, but I knew that I had to move to Austin no matter what. I was like, Pascal, you're moving to Boulder. Austin is on the way. Why don't you just help me move to Austin, Texas? And then from there, you become an adult in Boulder. You do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing in Austin, and that's how we did it. That's how we went into, like, I would say, like adulthood from that college life. So,
Yeah, it was an
but
incredible experience.
yes, yes, dude. And I will never forget. I remember it took us 8 days going through that journey. And I had this fear. I remember telling you, like, at the restaurant, I was like, dude, I'm gonna move to a city that I don't know anybody. I cannot work yet. I cannot drive. Like, I'm moving there and I don't even have transportation. And you ask me, Diego, where do you think you're gonna grow the most? If you wait for your driver's license with, like, moving back to your parents, however long that's gonna take you, or if you move to Austin and you're there by yourself figuring it out. And I was like, I'm gonna grow the most when I'm by myself. It's like, all right, then that's why we're on this road trip. We're gonna go and drop you off there. So it
Yeah,
was
and
great.
and that's where all of these special moments, right? Like everything that's uncomfortable is where all the opportunity is. I have to keep reminding myself
Mhm.
that now. Like that's like everything that I don't want to do. The Ryan Holiday book, The Obstacle is the Way. Like that is like I need to grow up and take those steps forward. So and you did that there too, and I commend you for that.
Mhm.
So, Pascal, one quick question. So that first business that you started with 30, 40 grand, what was that first business and how did it go?
Oh man. Okay. Uh, so my first business, so I did this program, that was founded by Dane Maxwell and Andy Drish, who are dear friends and mentors of mine still. And, they, had this course called The Foundation, which taught you how to, start a business without having an idea, having any money, or knowing how to code. Basically, like the three objections to starting a business. And they taught, basically this concept of go pick a niche, uh, then just like cold email a bunch of people, get them to get on the phone with you and bitch about their problems, and then ask them what it's costing them to have those problems. What would their ideal solution look like? What have they tried that didn't work? And cool, like you'd be willing to pay for something like this? How much do you think you'd be willing to pay for it? Oh, cool. Like if I gave you a 50% discount for 6 months up front, would you be willing to give me that as a deposit? Cool. Now I've got five people and I've got their, $500 each, and I take that and I go hire a developer to then build the software. So that's how this went down, but in the notary niche. I mean, I tried everything. I was interviewing restaurant owners and plumbers, and somehow I was just willing to take a call with anyone. And like, I'm gonna just like, this is a story that I love to tell, which is when I was in my college dorm room. I mean, Diego was there. He was my roommate. I would literally
That's so
take,
cool.
I would literally, have these calls, do these cold calls basically with these strangers. And I would get so nervous and shake that I was like, all right, I'm going to take a shot, and like, I'm going to just have a shot. I'm going to do this call. And then it was like afterwards, I was like, and I would have to like wait a couple days before I could go do another call. But then it was like, then I would do one every day, and then I would two a day. And then then at one point I did 10 back-to-back calls for like 8 hours straight. Right. And so all I did was ask people, like, what are your problems? What would you do to solve it? And the first product was a product called Notary Elite. And, it basically was a scheduling software. So, the pain point I kept hearing is, hey, when I'm on the road or in the middle of a signing, when I'm a notary, verifying whoever is who they say they are when they purchase a home, that they can't take those calls. And each call that they miss is worth $200. And even if they like just missed the call, if they call them right back, like that mortgage or title company has already gone on and hired the next person. And so what it was, they would tell me like, oh, it'd be great if someone could just like take a phone call for me and look at my calendar and book for me. And I was like, great, I can do that. I don't even need software to do that. Right. And so that's how that started. And I collected, I think it was 6 people, $500 up front. And I had $3,000, and I didn't really have to pay for developers. And I was just, handling calls for them. And then I got to this realization that, so I may be like 4 months into this, after I've collected their money, and it's like a recurring subscription of like $200 a month. I realized that I learned my first thing about market size. Like, how many professional notaries are there in the United States, that are full-time? I think the number was something like 30 to 80,000. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to get 100%, of this market. Like, if I get 1% of this market, how many people are there? And it's like, okay, well, 3,000 of 30,000. And then it's like, okay, well, if each of them pay me $200 a month, like, I'm going to have a bunch of overhead and people that I'm going to need to hire. And like, that's not a big enough business for my dreams. And I had that realization. And then it, kind of after, I grappled with it for a little bit, because I'd made so much progress, and I was finally down this path where I was like making money, and but I was making a couple $100 a month net. Like, it was, it wasn't like crazy. But it was the beginning, it's like having never started a real business before to having something like that. And, after a certain point, it was like, this isn't going to get me where I want to go. And I let the 6 months go by, and I told them I wasn't going to renew and continue. And then I shifted over to doing consulting. So, that's how that first one went.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from those lessons, you also took, then from there you went into walkthrough. Can you take like 2 or 3 minutes, talk to us about walkthrough? Because then what happened is joining Techstars with that got you the experience, that got you what you're doing now a little bit.
So what happened is, one night I was talking on the phone with Diego here, and he was like, hey man, I've got 45 minutes to talk. I'm on my way to a showing. And I had spent some time. I'd spent 6 months in Bali, and I before then decided that, hey, I want to go and build a big business. At the time, I had a Facebook advertising agency, and I was like, this is great. I'm building other people's stuff, but like, I want to go build something big. So came back to the US, and I knew that I had to find a technical co-founder, and I then went to 30 different events and went on 43 different coffee dates with engineers in a 3-month period, and found my co-founder, Jeremy. And we were sitting around trying to figure out, like, what are we gonna work on? And that's where this then call came through. I was just catching up with my buddy Diego, and that light bulb went off in my head, and virtual reality kind of like just came on the scene. And we started pitching this idea of like, what if you could have your first time homeowners go tour a bunch of homes in VR? You could tour 50 of them in an hour, and then, walk around, look under tables, flick on light switches, like get a real feel for the home, and understand if it fits your requirements before like wasting a realtor's time. And that's the path that we went down. So we then, I could bore you, but the first then question was, how do we get models of 3D homes into our database that people can see in VR? And so we said, oh, let's start a photography company. People will pay us to do photography, and they're basically paying us to build our database of VR models that are then proprietary. Like now we have like a lock-in effect and an edge there. And so, long story short, 2 years later, VR kind of never really took off. We had installments in different realtor offices. I flew down to Diego's office. He set up a meeting for me in Keller Williams, and we did big presentations. People would put on the goggles, they'd walk around the room, and it just never picked up. But our photography business blew up, and that was growing. We, like I said, got to close to $1 million in revenue. We had 55 different employees. We had like 12 at HQ. We had 40 plus different photographers. We were in 6 different markets. We were in Austin. We were in Boulder and Cincinnati. I went and raised venture capital money during that time. And these were all just, it was all just, how do I grow this business as big as possible? And at some point, I just actually raised the last million. We raised 1.4 million in a seed round, and we then took the next 6 months, and like how you need to think as an entrepreneur or a founder is, what are all of the different roadblocks that are along my way, the biggest bottlenecks, and how do I go tackle the biggest one first? And so for us as a venture-backed company, when we realized VR wasn't a thing anymore and we just had a photography business, then it was like, how do we grow the market size for our business? Long story short, we just couldn't, we tested all these different things for 6 months, and just realized that it wasn't going to be a venture backable business. And so we sold the company and returned as much money to the investors as we could, which was over $1 million, and moved on.
Yeah, and I know that company helped me and helped a lot of the realtors, because then it got bought up by another company that is here in Austin. So I still use that company for pictures and everything. So it's a good thing that you started that, Pascal.
Yeah, no, and it's an incredible experience just to see. I mean, all the employees got bought and moved on to this other company and got to keep their jobs. And we had this story of one of our first photographers got promoted to being our photography trainer, and then she became head of customer support. And then when the company got bought, she became like basically CEO of that company inside the larger firm. And she, went from making $30 a photo shoot to making over $120,000 a year. So it's incredible, awesome. Like, just to see those types of stories, and makes it, on top of the learnings, those are the types of things that make it all worth it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Pascal, can we fast forward a little bit to what you're doing now? Talk to us, because I know you said you worked at Techstars, you've had, you started different business ventures and stuff, but what are you focusing on right now?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, which was, in 2021, I was working at Techstars, the venture capital firm, and my dad passed away from old age kind of suddenly. And it kind of like threw my world upside down, to where, my dad was the manager of the family, of the finances, and my mom knows really nothing about money or investing at all. And so, it was kind of at that point where I was then in charge of trying to figure out how to provide my mom an income and kind of like set her up for the rest of her life. She's 65. She still has a long time to live. But that kind of, having been in the fund world and doing a bunch of these different investments, I needed to find something that could be 100% passive and hands off so I wouldn't be pulling my hair out. And being in the fund world, I kind of went over, okay, let's look at all of these different types of passive income funds. I'd tried doing all these different things. I'd bought real estate. That's kind of like one of the first things you do when you're trying to get passive income. And then you realize real estate is anything but passive. And then I went into dividend investing, and you're trying to get dividends, and then you realize, okay, well, that doesn't really matter if the stock goes down and I still get an 8% dividend because it's a wash. And then I tried investing in bonds, and then I realized those didn't really pay out until maturity, so you're not really getting monthly passive income. And so funds was kind of the first thing that I really came across that has provided that. And so I'd spent a ton of time and research and really digging into how do I diversify my mom into, a workforce housing fund? How do I get her into some developments? She's in a self-storage deal. She's in a multifamily deal. She's in, I'm invested in cannabis REITs and ATM funds and all these things that provide now her monthly passive income. And I just realized that my dad had also tried to do all of these things and even invested in some of these types of private investments, and they never really panned out. And I then kind of had this idea for doing a fund and helping other people do this. And so I reached out to all kind of like my former investors who'd invested with me previously on a couple deals. And I said, hey, are these funds, are these things interesting to you? And I kind of pre-raised $650,000 as of right now, and I've just realized that this is a problem that people have, which is like figuring out how to generate. There's a continuum of passive income, and there's like I put real estate kind of on the front end, and then there's there's single family real estate. Then you can get into maybe like Airbnbs, which are a little bit more work. And then, and slowly you get to this part where maybe you have management teams that run things for you, and ultimately other funds that you can invest to for passive income. So my big focus there has been, how do I help other people generate that same monthly passive income from those private placements?
Mm-hmm. And so as you've been building that for your mom, right, you've also been able to develop a thesis that will then allow you to know what you're investing, like what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, because when you have money to be able to invest it, if you say yes to everything, you don't know what qualifications what qualifications you say yes to. So can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to develop your own investment thesis, and also why is it important to have an investment thesis?
Yeah, so I'll start with the why. So I think the why, look, I think when you don't have an investment thesis and you hear about a deal and you throw your money into it, or you're like, oh, real estate's the only thing I know, like I'm just going to put more money into that, or whatever your expertise is, it's what you're doing is you're thinking from a scarcity mindset. You're thinking like, oh, this is where I'm at. Like, these are the only opportunities I have. Like, I have to choose between these, instead of more of an abundance mindset of like, okay, if I'm going to invest, where is the best place to invest? And like, so I think there's this dynamic between the abundance and scarcity mindset. I think also that when you're investing, if you're just throwing money around and you're not doing it according to a plan, like you have this vision of where you want to go, but you have no idea how you're going to get there, and you're not following any real plan. And if anything, you might be putting yourself further behind on your journey to your dream life. Whereas by like putting together an investment thesis, it's just like a clear document that helps you say, oh, there's this deal here that fits within my buy box. Yeah, let's look at it. Or, oh, no, I don't invest in like high risk venture capital, whatever, because it doesn't fit in my investment thesis. So I think that's the big why. It's like, if you don't have one, you're actually hindering yourself from getting closer to your dream life faster. So if you want to get closer there, I think that's where you should start. I think the next thing, I learned all these tips and tricks from different places. I went to when I first started thinking about starting a fund, I joined the Real Estate Radio Guys Mastermind. And there they have this concept of, there are only three things that you can have your money do for you. I call it the money pie. And you can either have it grow, equity growth, get cash flow, or get tax benefits. And some investments have all three, like real estate. You have, cash flow from the rent, you have appreciation from the equity growth, and there are some tax benefits from it. And then there are other things that you can invest into, like crypto, for example, that doesn't have any tax benefits and doesn't have any cash flow. But like if you're investing in crypto, you're making the equity grow. Like that's what you're investing in crypto for, is the appreciation, right? So I think it's important to sit down and figure out, what am I trying to have my money do? And why I call it the money pie is because if you're getting all three, you can only put so much in each area, right? Like you could go to a debt fund and just focus on the cash flow part, and you'll get a much higher cash flow because that's what you're optimizing for. And so I think you really need to sit down and figure out, okay, for me, I have said I want to put all of my money into cash flowing investments so that I can get to financial freedom faster. And then, and only then, will I put money into the high risk, high growth bucket. And so that's been my, philosophy. And for everyone else, it's different, right? So to me, it's like you hear all these people that say, oh, I want passive income. I want to try and do this. And like, maybe they have a couple $100K in the stock market. And it's like, okay, if you want passive income, maybe you pull that and put it into the passive income bucket. But, right now you're saying, oh, I want passive income, but all of your investment decisions are over here in the stock market, which are equity growth. Like those things aren't congruent. You need and maybe you say, oh, I want 80% of my money to be in the equity growth and 20, cool. But you need to kind of go in with that philosophy or that thinking, which is part of that investment thesis. So the first thing we covered was the money pie. The second thing that we talked about is now the investment thesis. What do you want to be investing in? And this is part of it's what do you think is going to happen in the world? Is kind of the next step, right? You don't want to jump right into forming your buy box, which is, oh, I want to buy single family homes that are 2,000 square feet or less that have at least 4 bedrooms. That's the buy box. You can't think about the buy box if you don't have a hypothesis of the world, in my opinion. So here we might say, oh, interest rates, we expect interest rates to continue going through the roof for the next year, and it'll go up by at least 3 more percentage points. If you thought that was what was going to happen, buying these single family homes with the 2,000 square feet and would be the worst strategy, because you decided on that before having an idea, a hypothesis of what would happen in the world. Are you following me?
Yes. Yeah. So it's a market. In other words, it's not just like the world, but a synonym of what the world will be, the market, understanding what the market can be in the future too.
Yeah. So kind of to tie these all together, right? It's like, look, if I'm looking for cash flowing products, for example, I have $100,000, I want to make it work for me and I want cash flow from it. Okay. So now, like with that in mind, like what do I think is happening in the world? Okay, well, I think interest rates are going to stay the same for a while. Um, like, do I don't know if like commercial real estate is the ideal place to invest right now. You know, maybe depends on the deal, depends on the market, but overall, like where do I want to be putting my money? So to me, the answer for that is I want to be putting my money into workforce housing. Like in my thesis is that okay, if we're gonna have a recession or worse, or if it just stays how it is right now, like people are not running to go to Class A luxury buildings. Like inflation's coming in, people's like wallets are getting tighter. And if anything, people are going to downsize, which creates downward pressure on the market. Okay, cool. So if that's my thesis, if I think that's what's happening in the world, then I would want to invest in where there's going to be more demand. And so I'm thinking workforce housing, you know, things are getting more and more expensive. That's going to be more in demand. So that's why I have the investment thesis. Then it's like, okay, what then I go into my buy box. And then my buy box is okay, I'm looking for investments that have consistent monthly passive income that generate more than, you know, 8% on an annual basis, that are with people that have a track record through multiple down cycles, that are executing on the same strategy that I'm investing into now. And so, for example, that is my buy box. And so, like, if you skip ahead to the buy box, then you might be investing in totally the wrong thing because you haven't gone through and just made a mental note of like, what do I expect to happen?
Yeah, no, I think that that's definitely important because it gives you like you do have to do the research. And I remember us having a conversation on this. It's not just how do you want to build it, but what are the things outside in the world that can help, that if it's the right time to take on that thesis too. Because maybe back in the day, like I wouldn't say like gamble it into like crypto and stuff like that, but I would say like there are times where investing in crypto makes sense and other times where you can diversify and say, hey, this is my long-term bucket. I know what crypto might do in the future, so I'm just going to put a little bit of that, and understand with your thesis and your buy box also that diversification of that. Do you, when like with your thesis, do you have a way to diversify as you're investing your for cash flow?
So ask that question differently.
Yeah, are you, well, I added the cash flow part earlier because you mentioned that you're investing right now for just cash flow. But how do you as you created your thesis now in 2023, how have you diversified your portfolio in what you're investing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think for my cash flowing buckets, I've invested with some like solid operators that have great track records, like Grant Cardone, and those returns are slightly, you know, less. He's a bigger player, he's got more influence, but I wanted to have that money safe, and that I feel like it's safe there. I've invested in oil and gas, you know, projects because I mean, with war in Ukraine and now what's happening in the Middle East, I mean, do I think oil is going to become, you know, more important or less important as the
More
future
important.
moves forward? More important, right? So that I felt like that was a good place. I have some of that money in workforce housing funds. I have some of that money into an ATM fund. I think, you know, ATMs aren't going anywhere, and those are cash generating machines. People use that every single day, and oh man, I've invested in self storage funds. You know, I think for me, the first and foremost concern was, can I make the money safe? How do I keep it as safe as possible? And then look for returns, because if I lose the money, it doesn't matter, right? So priority one, keep the money safe. Yeah, go for it.
And would you say that now as you're creating your fund, right, that's going to be investing in other funds,
Yeah.
would you be investing into those funds too as you take investors' money?
Yeah, so that's exactly what part of so when I put together the thesis for Grow Your Cash Flow, it was, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what are all the things that I'm investing into for my mom? I want to invest in them first, and put my own money at risk, learn, and before I even, you know, I want to make sure it's as safe as possible for anyone investing with me. And so, yeah, that's exactly the process that I went through.
Okay. And then what is next for you then on the grow your cash flow, as you are like, when are you gonna open up the fund and everything? What's next for Pascal in 2024, 2025?
Yeah, so I actually am onboarding my first investors now. The fund's open. I want to make sure I kind of clean up the wheels and make sure that there's, I want it to be as a professional and great experience as I can. So I'm cleaning that up. I have a weekly deal flow offer that I am going to continue to work on. So I have this free offer. So if you go to growyourcashflow.io, I send out all the deals that I personally come across as an investor. I'm trying to look and find deals, and then I put them into an Airtable and I categorize them, and then I share them with everyone on my list each week. So if you're looking for passive income deals, that's a great place to look. That's where I'm going to be focusing. And to be honest, it's just figuring out what are the next couple funds that I'm going to be offering my customers, and I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as you continue then, how one of the things that you mentioned is you have these deals that if they go to growyourcashflow.io, they can get into your list, right? But how are you coming into those deals?
Yeah, so I now have kind of a system that I do, but I look for I click on every single ad that I can possibly find. I'm adding my email. I'm on every single other operator's list. When they have a deal, they're sending me an email, and we have a system that categorizes them and we have them in. I'm going to conferences. I'm going to investor dinners. I'm going to like workshops, and I'm talking to other investors. Hey, what deals are you investing into? I mean, it's all of the same kind of due diligence that I think any investor should be doing. I'm just trying to help other people shortcut that process by aggregating it all for them.
Yes, and that's really cool because you're putting in the work, building those
Yeah,
relationships, and that's really important.
and the skills.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, Pascal, dude, where can people find you if people have questions? I know you have a podcast too. Where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so I'd say the best way is to join the list, growyourcashflow.io. You can reach out to me on Twitter. It's Pascal Wagner with the number 1. And I'm on all the social platforms actually. So you can go to investwithpascal.com and you'll find me on everything all right there.
Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Invest with Pascal. Dude, well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure having you here, share your story. And as always, thank you for always being there, supporting me, helping me. And I look forward to hanging out soon.
Thank you, Pascal. Great
Oh
to have you
yeah.
on,
Thank you, Ward. Thank you, Diego. You guys are both awesome. Love you both.
Thank you for listening to the FI Investors Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And share this with a fellow real estate investor who you think would find value in what we do. Until next time.